My name is Neil Patel, and I help companies generate more revenue through digital marketing. Entrepreneur Magazine said I was the #1 marketer in the world, and they also said I created one of the 100 most brilliant companies. I started my first website at the age of 16. I took all the money that I earned from working at an amusement park, and I paid a marketing firm. The marketing firm provided no results, and I quickly learned that I wasn't alone. Out of my frustration and from being broke, I had no choice but to learn marketing. My first client was a power supply manufacturer. I helped them generate another $25 million in sales, and from that point, I realized the power of marketing. I helped everyone that I could, and I built my reputation by being honest and over-delivering. I've helped companies like Google, NBC, Viacom, General Motors, eBay, but nothing's more satisfying than helping small business owners succeed. I founded 4 multi-million-dollar companies, and I've learned all the mistakes that you should avoid. I've written about them on Forbes, Entrepreneur, Inc., Fast Company, and even on my own blogs. It's so awesome to know that colleges from all around the world are teaching my material in their classroom. Over the years, I've received awards from the President of the United States, the House of Representatives, and the United Nations. People believe marketing is expensive and difficult. Fortunately, that's not true. There is a formula. Even if you don't have a technical bone in your body, you can get results. And my mission is to share this formula with you. I don't think the garage is opening. I can't open the garage for you guys. It's not working. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. They have construction going on to get the garage open. Yeah, if you can't, just put it on booties or something. Thank you. Front door's open. I'm renting a house. Probably not the best way to start out a webinar. And the rental house that I'm in has mold everywhere. So not the funnest way to kick things off. Sorry about that, everyone. So I'm going to share my screen now. All right, let's get this going. You guys can see my screen? Can you guys hear me?
You're good.
Yep.
Awesome. So this is the 4th episode of our Black Friday webinar series, and it's about getting your paid media marketing ready. I'm Neil Patel. I'm the co-founder of NP Digital. We're a global ad agency. We have offices all around the world. And today with us is our team from NP Digital. Do you guys want to do introductions? Chris, you want to start?
Yeah, my name is Chris Moreno. I oversee the paid media team here at NP Digital. That's all things paid search, paid social, programmatic, performance creative, and any sort of biddable piece of media in between. And with us, we also have our head of programmatic, Dana.
Hi, I'm Dana Hines, the Director of Programmatic here at NPD. As Chris mentioned, overseeing programmatic, focusing on streaming TV, online video, display, anything that can be purchased through DSP.
So as I mentioned, we're NP Digital. We have over 750 employees globally. We're in quite a few different countries. We've won a lot of awards. And the reason I break this down isn't to brag. It's more so to show you guys, hey, the results that we're producing at NP Digital work. So today, when we break down tactics and strategies and what you should be doing with your paid media for Black Friday, keep in mind these strategies and tactics are battle tested. We use them on our clients. It works, and it produces amazing results. So this is the 4th episode. We already covered getting ready with SEO, as well as CRO and email marketing. You can find all those episodes on YouTube. And this one is episode 4 on paid media. So Black Friday is only 74 days away. That's not that long. And the real question you have to ask yourself is, are you ready? Because Black Friday shopping or Cyber Monday shopping doesn't just happen right then and there. that holiday rush actually starts before Black Friday. And it's used by companies of all types, whether it's if you're a B2C company or B2B or e-commerce or even brick and mortar. Everyone is leveraging marketing tactics for Black Friday. And the reason being is there's a lot of revenue to be had. And speaking of brick and mortar back in 2022, the holiday spending reached $1 trillion for the first time. That was a 3.9% gain from 2021. But that's a massive amount of money being spent, you know, just on a few days. Black Friday also saw a double digit increase in foot traffic to 72.9 million shoppers. And Thanksgiving weekend foot traffic increased 17% year over year, which is, again, all great stats. And if you look at a lot of the trends when it comes to holiday shopping, 56% of US customers plan to do some holiday shopping online this year. Overall, retail spend is expected to increase 4.5% to $1.3 trillion. Again, that's a massive amount of money. And the question you have to ask yourself is, are you getting your fair share of that? Are you getting your slice? And it's not just going to magically happen where you're just like, hey, let me put up a banner on our homepage and say Black Friday sale. That's not enough. That's not going to get you enough of a lift. Sure, it'll get you something, but not really what you're looking for. And e-commerce will account for almost 20% of sales. So yes, brick and mortar is amazing, but don't forget about e-commerce as well. And e-commerce is not just for quote unquote D2C brands or brands selling physical goods. We do Black Fridays on our software sale. We know a lot of service-based businesses that do Black Friday offerings. It works for any type of industry, so make sure that you're leveraging it. And 67% of retailers expect consumers to look for discounts this holiday season. Because why would people be paying sticker price, especially when we have issues like inflation and economic issues? People want deals more than ever. And I talked a little about this earlier. When do customers really start spending for the holiday? And if you look at it, you know, if you look at 22 and 21, a lot of them are starting to look in October, November, and very few wait for December. Very, very few people wait for January. And when you look at January, it's not that they're late. A lot of businesses run promotions in January for all the stuff that they have for EX Christmas lights or products like that, where they're like, all right, Christmas season's over. Let's just fire sale whatever we have remaining. And you see some interesting stats based on Gen Z, millennials, and Gen X, and I'm not going to read them all off, but a lot of them are shopping and they're shopping early. So make sure it doesn't matter if you're going after Gen Z, millennials, or Gen X. You know, a lot of them are shopping in November or earlier than November. So you need to start. So you technically don't have 70 plus days. You know, you want to be prepared. We're already in September. You want to be prepared for October shopping because a lot of people start spending then. The other thing is people are always on the hunt for gifts and deals, and it's more so than ever. And we're seeing that especially because a lot of people are trying to get laid off. I don't know if you saw the latest jobs report here in the United States. You're also having issues of inflation, issues of people not making that much more each year with inflation rising so fast. So what's the solution? You start looking for deals. And even people buying homes, they're not buying homes as much. Why? Because interest rates are so high. This all affects people looking for deals. And paid media can help you find the people who are looking for the offerings, who are looking for Black Friday deals or Cyber Monday deals, or just looking to spend before that holiday rush. And yes, you should do social media. You should optimize for conversions. You should do SEO, but you can't forget about paid media. And the reason paid media is so effective is you can turn it on and instantly get traffic. Now, they say that you can just start up a campaign and you'll get traffic that day or the next day. But even at NP Digital, when we're launching paid campaigns, we like planning more than a month in advance. And when we do that, we're seeing a much higher ROI on our campaigns than just launching them right then and there and not having any planning I'm on a call, Oma. I'm on a business call. Um, William, Daddy's on a webinar. Can he? Okay, you can leave him, Edith. Can you turn on the TV? Oh, you got to go to school. You want a lollipop? Okay, Edith will give you a lollipop. Thank you, William. That's what I got to do to bribe my kids so I can do a business call. uh, but after COVID, you learn from working from home, and when you love your kids to death, you get used to all the noise and the distractions. But what I was getting at with paid media is it's definitely worth running paid ads, and you got to plan them in advance, and that's what'll get you the higher ROI. Don't just wait a few days for Black Friday and just be like, hey, Black Friday's going, let me just turn on some ads. It's not going to be as effective versus planning in advance. And you can reach people no matter what kind of market they are, whether it's a Gen Z or Gen X or millennials, and you can reach them for any kind of industry through paid media. And here's some interesting case studies. Here's one, and we end up using this for the shelf, and we were able to increase leads by 108%, decrease CPA by 31%, and increase conversion rates by 47%. In essence, we pretty much doubled up their qualified leads. The results were amazing. And this is the kind of stuff that you can do through paid media. And we have endless case studies. But the key is, if you plan correctly and look at your campaign holistically, and I'll go back a screen, as you can see here, we also increase conversion rates. It's not just about paid media and paid ad spend. It's also about your landing page, your messaging, how you're positioning things versus the competition to really get your numbers up. And you got to look at it holistically, and that's why you have to plan ahead.
Sweet. And I'm going to jump into some of those pre-planning initiatives before we give you the top 5 sort of strategic recommendations or things that we are going to be activating for some of our clients. Some pre-planning homework. And one of those things is understanding, the timeline. As Neil just mentioned, consumers are shopping now, and some have actually already started. In some cases, we need to be able to adapt to that holiday shopping demand and actually think about it from a consumer-first approach this season and planning your campaigns, understanding your shopper's mindset, their behaviors, what they're doing in October versus their buying habits, Black Friday or Cyber Monday weekend. So how do you plan effectively now? Is you should be planning today, as we are with our clients, to activate come October your strategies for November and December that differ from October. And then, as Neil mentioned also, what happens post-holiday and how do you continue the buying behaviors after you've influenced them during this holiday season? So first things first, regardless of behaviors, you want to make sure you have your goals set up and understanding what you're trying to accomplish this season. Obviously, it's the highest demand, highest impact for intent to buy things. And most brands are going to be trying to average a specific goal from a target customer acquisition cost or return on investment. But there's also other things, knowing that there's a heightened sense of awareness. There's ways to activate brand recall and introduce brands and get engagement and use this time to influence and introduce your product or services. So there are different goals from awareness, engagement, and conversion that you should clearly map out before you start your planning. Number one thing to do at first is understand where your audience is. And that's where your target audience is, slide now, where they are spending their time, how this differentiates between if your audience is more of a younger demographic and Gen X and Gen Z versus the older demographic, the millennials and baby boomers. You want to be able to use any first-party data you have, identify their user behaviors, and understand where you should be influencing them, and define who those audiences are. Once you have those clearly defined, then that's actually where you do additional research to see where they're spending their time online and how you're easily going to influence them. Rising importance of Gen Z is a good example, where they're spending their time online, how their consumer behavior habits of social media or video consumption, or where their eyeballs are on their mobile devices and how you're going to influence them. You either want to use eMarketer or Statistica or any additional marketing research to find out where your consumers are spending online, to then understand how you're going to influence your media strategy and your media planning towards those audiences. That actually leads directly into how you identify which channels you should activate. where your highest propensity of your audiences are, whether it's millennials who spend a higher time on Facebook, or if it's younger demographics spending a lot more time on Snapchat and TikTok. You're going to want to activate your media strategies based on analyzing last year's performance. So if this is not your first go around at activating Black Friday or Cyber Monday campaigns, look at what won last year. Use that as part of influencing where you should be allocating your budgets to your top performing channels. And then also understand what's up and coming, what's rising, what are new activations we could do this year, given the shift in behaviors and where people are spending their time online. As I mentioned, there has been a crazy change and crazy shift, not only in where the daily active users or monthly active users are by social platforms, but it's where their eyeball times and how much time they're actually spending consuming content on these platforms can help influence where you allocate budget as well, and then heavily based on ages as well. So if you are, as a B2B account, B2B client, trying to activate a SaaS deal and maybe have a year-end sort of quota you're trying to hit, and you're going to put some sort of incentive out there, obviously more time spent on LinkedIn for that demographic and that audience. Whereas if you're really going after this Gen X younger demo, they're spending a lot more time within the Snapchats of the world messaging. And how do you align your strategies there? These should all be things you should consider and factor in when it comes to planning. And then last but not least, which is the most thing the last thing we will talk about when we talk about strategies, is the highest intent is obviously going to be Google search, and it's going to be a given. But we want to understand where that intent is and what you do to activate those keyword strategies when you're buying paid search ads or you're buying Google Shopping or shopping ads across the internet. Is do your keyword research. Identify the search behaviors, the habits, things that change year over year or by trends or by seasons. Understand what those long tail keywords are that have intent signals or intent buying behaviors behind them. You can use tools like Google Keyword Planner, SEMrush, Ubersuggest, or Answer the Public to get content ideas. There's a lot of tools available out there to kind of give you an idea of the demand, look at historic demand, and then also the competitive landscape, knowing what your competitors are trying to capture and see if you can activate in the space during the same time to capture demand. And last but not least, all of those things above, from audience behaviors to strategies and planning to where to activate, is understanding where you should be allocating your budgets and where you should be making your best impact based on those goals. So if you're very much looking to drive a return on ad spend or a target customer acquisition cost, and you have a very strict goal on getting a return, you're going to go based on the intent signals of paid search, right? And you're going to want to make sure you maximize the investment there based on demand. But there's also those awareness strategies and those awareness plays that have different sort of KPIs aligned to them, that you're going to allocate budget, that you're going to influence, and they're going to have a different sort of impact. But you want to make sure you're flexible. Look at last year's performance and try to allocate the same, if not similar, allocations of media spend. But no, demand can change this year. Not all trends are the same year over year, and be ready to pivot and shift as the weeks leading up to Black Friday and holiday, and be ready to pivot and shift by the weekend, the hour, and the day of Black Friday, Cyber Holiday weekend. So always just kind of understanding what your goal could be in terms of spend, and then what you're willing to change and pivot in real time. Sweet. So I'll pass it over to Dana to kind of start off the 5 specific strategies that we would be focusing on.
All right, great. So let's get into the meat of this webinar. First up, we will talk about our streaming TV strategy. So before we dive into this, let's define streaming TV, which we will sometimes also refer to as connected TV. Streaming TV is a way for people to watch TV shows or movies over an internet connection instead of going through a cable or satellite provider. Streaming TV is a highly effective way to generate brand awareness to your targeted audience on the biggest screen in the house. It's no secret that traditional TV is expensive. So streaming TV gives advertisers the opportunity to enter the TV market at a much lower entry cost than traditional TV. We've also seen that connected TV ad spend has increased nearly 400% since 2019. Advertisers are spending more here naturally as the audience continues to grow. to grow. Now, over 78% of US households subscribe to at least one streaming service, and streaming TV has the largest audience share among millennials. So if this is who you're targeting, streaming TV is where you'll want to be. Understanding the why is first, but now let's talk about the when and how. We should have already started our audience research, as Chris mentioned, but if you haven't, it's okay. It's definitely not too late. Start your research and build your campaigns now so you can launch them no later than next month. October CPMs are typically 30% lower than November and holiday, so now is definitely the time to start taking advantage of these lower rates and generating that brand awareness. With streaming TV, if you want to go back, Neil, with streaming TV, there are multiple ways to target ads based off the research you've done to understand your audience. You can target specific streaming services or genres your audience are likely to be watching. So you can be doing buys with Hulu or focusing on sports content with Sling TV. You can and should take advantage of digital's precise targeting and really hone in on your audience by targeting the people who are in market for your product or service, or people with certain interests and behaviors that align with your audience. And lastly, we don't want to forget about frequency capping. We recommend a frequency cap of 3 impressions per day at the highest level possible. So that's not just streaming TV, but your campaign as a whole, if it's possible. Then diving into streaming TV best practices. If creating a TV commercial seems too daunting or expensive, we're here to let you know there's no need to stress out. You don't have to make an ad specific for streaming TV or connected TV devices anymore. In fact, you're probably better off creating a video ad designed for mobile. Over half of all mobile video ads work well for connected TV devices. And that's because the creatives are typically made with large supers, the text and graphics that are added to the videos. They also have tight frame shots, and they use bright colors because most mobile users keep their screens dimmed. And these elements translate very well onto the big screen. But if you are going to create a specific ad for streaming TV placements, here are some best practices to follow. Create a 15 or 30-second spot to maximize the inventory available and the natural nature of TV. People are used to seeing 15s and 30s on TV. Show your brand name early and often. You should take advantage of streaming TV's sound on environment by grabbing viewers' attention with voiceovers or even a jingle. Jingles can add a lot to your message. Even if you can't hire a songwriter, you can use catchy licensed stock audio that suits your brand the best. Be sure to add an end card to your video spots, detailing out the promotional details. Get that message out there to this audience. And then be sure to have an engaging call to action. Everybody watching this ad is asking the question, what's in it for me? So try to answer that for them and create a sense of urgency so the users will take action. Next, we will go over some programmatic opportunities. In this section, we'll talk about programmatic audio, video, and display. Programmatic audio can consist of digital radio, podcasts, audio articles, and streaming music. There's currently a large amount of untapped advertising space within audio. It's reported that people spend about 30% of their media time with audio, yet brands are only allocating 9% of their media budgets to audio or missing out on it entirely. So what I think when I hear those stats are opportunity. Audio is considered one of the most immersive media types out there, even ahead of video. And that's likely because we take audio with us everywhere. It's with us during our morning commutes, when we're at the gym, or cooking at home. Additionally, immersion increases with more ad exposure, as does purchase consideration and brand opinion, which is why we recommend audio in an upper funnel as an effective tool to help guide people through the funnel and pull them closer to point of purchase. When you're planning your upper funnel audio strategy, have your research on hand to know what genres over-index for your audience. Is your audience listening to true crime podcasts, or are they more likely to be listening to Billboard's Top 100? Also, tap into contextual environments. It's holiday season. Target holiday playlists to reach people in that right shopping mindset. Or if you're an athleisure brand, target workout playlists. Let the audio help you. Then with audio creation, audio ad creation should be fun. It is your opportunity to present an actual human voice to connect with consumers, and is a refreshing shift from the era of social media scrolling and display ad viewing. Here are a few of our digital best practice recommendations. First, if you haven't already, define your brand's voice and ideal personality just like you did your brand logo. Will you be conversational, upbeat, or more laid back? When creating your audio spot, focus on the most important point of your message. Resist the temptation to stuff multiple messages in a single ad. Think, what is the one thing you want your audience to think of after they listen to your spot? Also, remember less is more. Aim for as few words as possible in your copy. You don't want to sound breathless, and an intentional cadence will help. An intentional cadence with well-timed pauses helps listeners absorb that information. A good rule of thumb we recommend is a 15-second spot should aim for 40 words, while a 30 can have 60 to 65 words. This next bullet's one of my favorites. If you decide that it's best for your brand to target specific genres, you can actually use the genres to help you create the ad. And that's because sound impacts neurorhythm and subconsciously syncs to the tempo of the song and the typical length. So rap, for example, is a fast-paced, upbeat musical format where short ads achieve better brand breakthrough. Rock, on the other hand, can take on longer ads as they outperform the short ads. And then our last two callouts here is the brand name should be mentioned in your spot within the first 10 seconds and repeated at least 2 to 3 times. And lastly, your call to action, add a call to action to your spot. But with audio, that call to action should be more subtle because, as we mentioned before, people are listening on the go. Next, we have our programmatic online video and display. These ad formats are by far some of the most efficient ways to reach a hyper-targeted audience with its large amount of targeting capabilities, which we'll talk about in a minute. Video and display ads are a great way to tell a story, whether the story is being housed entirely in one video ad or you're using sequential messaging and telling your story through different video and display ads. These type of ad formats allow for audience interactions. Adding interactive elements can create an opportunity for viewers to engage with your brand on a deeper level and help drive them down the decision-making funnel. An interaction can be as small as scrolling the products in a display ad like a carousel unit, or interacting with a video ad to actually change the ending of a story to make it more personalized. The reason we love video and display ad formats are because of all the unique targeting capabilities that in the end really help conversion performance. When setting up your targeting, you should align your audience with the appropriate stage of the funnel. When targeting upper funnel, you can be a bit more broad and reach the masses really efficiently. But if you're looking at driving consideration and engagement, we'll want to tap into programmatic targeting capabilities like contextual targeting to have your ad run next to content that's relevant for your product or service. Think if you're a DIY brand, maybe you target discount or deal sites because your way saves people money by doing it at home. As Chris mentioned, use past performance to learn what interests and behaviors resonate most with your consumers, and use those interests and hobbies by targeting that through a third-party data provider. We've looked up some research and we have found that holiday interests and holiday shopping has already started to increase tremendously. Those audience segments are growing rapidly, which supports what Neil mentioned earlier, that holiday research is really in full force right now. Also with programmatic, this is a time to tap into your first-party data. Before uploading your first-party data into a DSP, though, it's very important to organize and segment the data based off of what your goals are. If you upload one mass document, you're not setting yourself up for success, and you'll likely be targeting people incorrectly. From there, use your first-party data for lookalike modeling or excluding current customers. Our one point of recommendation is it's your data. Make sure you're using it wisely. And also, if possible, partner with your paid search team to use strong converting keywords to create a custom intent audience. Use the success from other media outlets to help improve audience reach. You'll also be excluding site converters within this portion of the funnel, so there's no need to worry about reaching paid search audiences that have already converted. For video best practices, Google has created a great ABCDs of video creation. We'll breeze through these because they are somewhat similar to streaming TV. A is for attention. You'll want to hook and sustain the viewer's attention by using both audio and visuals. You'll also want to get to the meat of the story early because you don't want viewers to wait for it. They might skip your ad. B stands for branding, which you should be doing early, often, and richly by showing and telling viewers who you are. C is for connection. Make sure what makes video so unique is the fact that you're able to make a connection through storytelling. And the best way to do this is by featuring people's experience with your product so viewers can imagine and desire what it would be like for them. And lastly, direction. Direct people to do exactly what you want them to with an intentional call to action. Next, we have our high-performing display ads. First, this is easier said than done, but a lot of brands unfortunately get it wrong, especially during this high-profile, busy shopping season because they want to stand out. But follow your brand guidelines. Use images your brand is best known for. Don't let all your hard work with your awareness campaigns go to waste now by trying to be unique and not show your brand the way people are used to seeing it. Rich media elements encourage people to interact and engage with your ad, which is our goal in this portion of the funnel. Adding something as small as a basic animation can attract eyeballs to your ad instead of competitors. We know we can run traditional online video ads, but did you know you can also repurpose those ads and use them for in-banner video? In-banner videos are eye-catching, they help with messaging consistency, and they open up additional inventory to run your video ads on. Not all publishers that might align great with your audience have video inventory, but you don't need video inventory if you're running an in-banner video ad. And also for promotional time periods like Black Friday and Cyber Monday, data feeds are a really great way to instantly make your brand ads more relevant. Data feeds allow you to show real-time information to your customers that help with the sense of urgency. You can show the number of products that are left. You can show the price change, all enticing users to click. Also, create a library of different ad sizes. As we mentioned, programmatic display is a very efficient tool, and we should be helping the efficiency by having a plethora of ad sizes to run, especially during this high demand season. And lastly, test. Have more than one ad variation live and optimize the campaign's creative as close to real time as possible to help you succeed. And last, before I pass it back to Chris, we have retargeting. Retargeting plays an important role for our paid media strategy. Have you heard the rule of 7? There's studies indicate that people won't purchase from you until they encountered your brand message about 7 times, which explains why retargeting banners have a 10 times higher click-through rate than prospecting banners. Retargeting isn't limited to site visitors only, though. While this is likely one of your larger retargeting groups, you can also retarget current customers with new hot deals or prospects who have seen your ad but haven't visited your site, and of course, those cart abandoners. Let's go over a couple tips to make an effective retargeting ad as well as campaign. Now that we know the rule of 7 exists, we also don't want to be a stalker. So set that frequency cap up for this audience. This audience is likely your smallest audience. So setting a frequency cap is really important to not bombard your audience too much. If you're a brand that doesn't have frequently repeating customers, be sure to exclude customers or those who have recently purchased from your retargeting pool. If you target those people, it would really end up being a waste of your media dollars. Within your ads, you're going to want to keep your messaging simple and action-based. This audience doesn't need all the storytelling as the prospect audiences do. They already know who you are. They've likely done their research on your site. So the storytelling is less necessary. Retargeting messaging should be really product and deal focused with strong call to actions. And if you have the opportunity to use dynamic creative optimization, DCO, this is a great area to use it. DCO is a technology that rapidly builds multiple iterations of an ad based on users' experiences. We've all probably have been to an e-commerce site, and then that purse that I put in my shopping cart is now following me throughout the web. That is typically done by DCO. But if DCO isn't an option, there's no worries there. You can definitely use customized ads by creating different retargeting audiences based off of the actions they've taken on their site. So setting up specific groups of people that browsed purses versus shoes, and trying to create a more broad but yet relevant ad for each of the audiences you're creating based off of site actions and rules. All these tips will help set you up for success.
Awesome. Thank you, Dana. As we move through, you'll see the trend starting with upper funnel and moving into more direct response oriented paid social. And the last one we'll talk about is paid search, moving a little bit further down the funnel. You think about paid social, it is a full funnel. Regardless of platform, you have the ability to hit users across the consumption time they're spending on social platforms. Speaking of consumption, I think last year, I think 60% of Gen Z and 56% of millennials use social media for holiday shopping. Influence last year, that's only going to rise. Looking at this year, knowing consumption rates and eyeball time has increased. I think we're spending more and more time consuming video-based content, scrolling through feeds. So definitely keep that in mind when it comes to planning your content strategy and your ad strategy this year. According to Statistica, the most popular, so depending again back to your audiences, if you're someone going after that 35 plus, female head of household purchaser, you're definitely going to want to continue and spend time on Facebook and Instagram, whereas there's high saturation, a high daily active user count, higher reach globally. But also, TikTok is rising, and as much as they have their daily active user base is growing and not necessarily the behemoth of what Facebook is yet. They spend a lot more time on TikTok consuming content. So you have a lot more ability to have inventory and impression volume in feed within TikTok compared to a Facebook. Speaking of TikTok and Snapchat, one thing to do if you are activating and going after this audience is taking advantage of all the ad features. Context cards being one of them that some brands simply just don't opt into. This is something we've considered testing. It's sort of non-invasive add-on that you could just simply add to your ad experience to heighten the call to action, provide an offer, give more direction, and it allows you to showcase something there to get a user to swipe up or click out to make an action on your ad. And then last but not least, when it comes to thinking about paid social in general, is leverage those content creator partnerships. Identify influencers and content creators whose audiences align with your target demographic. People get influenced by people. People want to see ad content that's going to resonate with them. And typically, if it's a little bit more organic looking and feeling, coming from influencers who are doing an unboxing video or review or talking about why this product has helped them, use that to your advantage. But it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop there. That ad content typically resonates, has higher engagement rates with audiences, but in reality, that's only going to influence them to start doing their own research. And I think on average, once a user is influenced by social media use, they have additional 10 touch points to evaluate and purchase before they purchase if they're influenced from a social media ad. So that means what they're doing post-view is doing the research, looking at reviews, and that means they're searching more. They're doing their own research before they're easily influenced, which leads to our last recommendation, which you're always going to be, which has the highest intent, is activating paid search and shopping ads. Leading into paid search, as I mentioned, highest intent. That's going to be the one that's going to drive the direct impact, but leverage your intent signals of the keywords to determine if they are in research mode or if they're in purchase mode, if they're looking for a specific deal, or what other sort of determining factors and keywords are they inputting in their query to know if they're ready to purchase and to buy. 7% of holiday shoppers use Google. That's a given. You know exactly what you want. You know what you want to go for, and you're trying to find the cheapest option. As Dana mentioned, depending if you're using a data feed to indicate real-time data insert of how the price discounts, because they are going to be in comparison shopping mode once they start searching to see where the best deal is that they could find. And this is only going to heighten as you get closer to Black Friday and Cyber Monday weekend. And it's going to be expected during those 5 days as well. But something that's going to be new and coming this year that we haven't seen in the years past is something to consider is this new generative AI experience with Google as a result, and this conversational experience to how AI is going to be making recommendations based on how you want to see it and what you're informing in your conversation with Google. Our first indicator based on what this search generative experience is that we think it's going to lead a little bit more with shopping ads, as you're very much product prone, and it's going to make recommendations to you and start to bring in, they used to call them product listing ads, but Google shopping ads directly into experience as you start to feed it more information specifically to what you're looking for in your search. So they haven't necessarily said this is going to be coming in more of an impact this quarter, but we're thinking it could make a more heightened debut by the time Black Friday comes. But with all things considered, as we talked about, the consumer's shopping behaviors, how it's leading up from October into November, how it's different based on their buyer mindset. If they're getting and they're waiting till that Black Friday, Cyber Monday, they're obviously looking for a deal for something that's on sale. If they're waiting until December, that means they're definitely in crunch time and they have to get it before the holiday nears. So you need to be able to shift your media strategy based on your consumers, and it's going to be different for all of your consumers depending on how their behaviors are online. One pro tip for us is identifying what media mix might be right for you. Maybe leverage new products like Performance Max from Google, which is AI driven, and it allows you to as an advertiser, be present wherever Google thinks your shopper is in that mindset, where they're easily going to be influenced, whether they're discovering or reading content, if they're watching videos, if they're actually doing more intent research on shopping ads and doing price comparison. It will dictate where the best time to place your ad based on that consumer's sort of navigating the web and when they're ready to buy. And that's all intent signal based through an AI driven mix. Best way to approach that, though, is as we kind of give you ideas throughout this, is making sure you have the right creative, the video. There's a lot of data that you have to ingest for Google to kind of create those things. Creative being the biggest factor getting ready for those sort of ads. And Dana kind of mentioned this, but we'll kind of go wrap this up and give you some ideas for other things to consider when it comes to strategizing and planning specifically for this time of year. And which is, you want to make things clickable. You want to stand out, and we'll talk about some things to consider when it's developing your ad creative. Visual design being the most impactful. Use high quality images. Don't gear away from what people already know about your brand, and make sure to bring that sort of brand recognition back into your product visuals, your ad visuals. Make sure you have strong call to actions. Don't inundate it with too much text. Make sure it's very clear and concise, and keep it simple, but also have a lot of variations and a lot of opportunities to test where you can. If you have a theme specific to the holiday, try to make sure it's incorporated throughout, or tell that story throughout if it changes leading up to the holiday with anticipation. Be ready to make sure you have your change in copy, your change in tone, your change in setting or view of what the consumer sees as you get closer to Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and you want to create this sense of urgency. If you're doing awareness ads through programmatic display or audio, letting people know the anticipation is coming of a sale, you're definitely going to want to say, okay, there's only 1 day or 24 hours or 2 days left. You're going to want to have that sort of switch of copy or urgency added to the experiences where you can, based on day parting. And then when it comes to types of treatments or understanding the user behaviors, whether it's gift giving or overall products themselves, you want to make sure, again, do your research on who your audience is. What's going to influence them? What are they typically buying? What is your product or service that you're trying to offer? And how will it might resonate with those users? So you're going to have different content, different strategies, buying guides to influence and provide maybe research as they're doing their research. You want to kind of align based on your consumer and how it changes throughout the course of those month leading up to. And then actually what changes post Cyber Monday to December, those 24 days, that can also influence and change based on urgency, as we mentioned. And then we can't all forget about what happens once you do influence that eyeball or that click or that traffic to that website, and making sure we don't waste that click and capture the right signals to retarget them, as Dana mentioned, or get them to buy or act immediately once they get to that website. You want to have some resonance to what you display to them in the visual of that ad, so it resonates on that landing page. Make sure you have dedicated landing pages specifically to the messaging that you just captured them on. If you're saying you're going to give them 40%, make sure the offer code and it's very visual on that landing page that they're getting 40%. Take them to sort of experiences that they know they're going to have a frictionless option to convert once they get on that landing page. Some technical things. So that's all glitz and glamour of making sure your kind of ad strategies and creative align, but there's also other things you want to do as just last tips to consider when it comes to planning. Testing. We mentioned this a lot. Have your testing plans ready now as you start to develop. Maybe your primary audience is millennial women, 35 to 45. That's going to be my goal getter. What are your secondary audiences going to look like? How is your creative going to be different to those users? What is the theme? What is the A/B strategies that you're going to kind of get ready to test your audiences? Start planning out your media plan in your content calendar and your ad calendars now, knowing that you're going to have different formats by platform, by channel, that you need to make sure you get your designers or your other teams tapped into to start creating now. timing and schedule. This is the biggest thing that we are actually pushing for our clients today, is that crunch time comes, and it comes quick coming into October. So these are the conversations we're having with our clients now, is let's understand what the messaging material is going to change, what's the website's going to change, how do we actually map out our specific calendars, what are the cutoff uploading. There are some things to know and some tips and tricks to know, that if you wait for the last minute on Meta to upload your ads that Friday before Black Friday, Cyber Week, you could be pending status for quite some time, because everyone may have waited to the last minute to upload those ads, and you might be going through sort of longer periods of approval processes the longer you wait. So trying to plan accordingly on the front end, when to set your deliverable deadlines, when to set your upload deadlines, when to set your approval deadlines, map out where you can starting now. And then last but not least, making sure that all works, is this is not to be forgotten. And we typically at NPD actually lead with a measurement tracking initiative on the front end to make sure whatever it is that we are going to measure as a success, that there's proper tracking in place, the right appenditures to your UTM for tracking are in place, any third-party tracking tools are aligned, so that you can kind of say, hey, post run, did this actually work? Did it actually drive the revenue I needed? Did it hit my target CPA? Did it hit my target ROAS? And you can only do that if you have the proper tracking in place to measure your results. And then last but not least, I believe, is exactly that. How are you going to understand what was a success, as we mentioned before, those SMART goals? And if you don't always think about it from a specific ROAS or CPA or conversion, what are those other things you can influence? That's why we let Dana lead the charge first on what you could do now to build awareness, activate brand recall, introduce your product or service, upper funnel to that audience to get them ready once they're in that buying mode post-October.
All right, so key takeaways. You need to start optimizing for Black Friday now. You can't wait too long. The shopping doesn't really start in November. It actually starts in October. So start optimizing now, and don't just look at things as paid media. The reason we had a webinar series on this is you need to look at a holistic approach, from paid media to SEO to social to CRO, email marketing. They all affect your revenue from Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and the holiday season. If you're also wondering how you're doing with your ads, scan this QR code, or you can go to the ads grader, put in your URL, and I'll give you some feedback on what's working and what's not. We pretty much mentioned all of it, from getting your SEO ready to CRO and email marketing, and you can find a lot of these webinars on YouTube, and it's on our YouTube channel, on the Neil Patel one, and you can end up finding it there. We also have a virtual summit that's coming up that breaks down how to deal with all the evolution that's happening with AI and how you can adapt, right? People talk about ChatGPT or Bard, but they're not breaking down specific action points on here's how you integrate AI in a seamless way. And scan the QR code. Hopefully you guys will attend. Some of the days are free to attend, so either way, if you haven't, make sure you register. We have speakers from a lot of big companies, as well as me, and we're going to end up breaking down what you can do to succeed in AI with all the changes that are happening. So that's it. Let's dive into some Q&A. I know we don't have tons of time, but let's do some Q&A.
All right. Great session, y'all. We have probably more questions than we have time for, but let's have at it. Dana, you are probably the best to answer this one. If a business was interested in audio advertising, where would be a great place to go? How do I start? And any concept on the size of budget one might need to actually do audio advertising?
So budget's going to be really tricky because it depends on who is your primary audience. If you're going broad, you'll need a greater budget. If you're going really niche, you can scale that budget down, although they'll be a little more expensive to reach. In terms of where to go for audio, do that research. You can use MRI Simmons to figure out if your primary audience is more likely to be streaming on Spotify, Pandora, Amazon Music, YouTube Music. And you can go directly to the partner. You can contact Spotify, Pandora directly, or you can do a buy through a programmatic DSP and house all of that underneath one roof, which is the primary benefit of housing it all underneath one DSP is that frequency conversation that we've had. We want to limit it to a max of 3 ads per day. And the more you can put underneath one roof, the more accurate your frequency will be.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This one probably best for Chris because he mentioned Performance Max. How should businesses approach budget allocation across multiple paid media channels to ensure maximum ROI? Does Performance Max sort of like do that for us when it comes to YouTube and search? Can you just elaborate a bit on that, please?
Yeah, definitely can. It could basically do it based on where your audience has most influence to convert and where Google thinks it's going to be able to convert within the restrictions you give it. So if you're telling it you want a customer acquisition cost of a max $80, it'll find the right opportunities to invest your content across Google's inventory to get that conversion within the $80 as you set. But also consider whether you have a product set that has a higher profit margin, you have best sellers, you know their specific products going to push more than others. You're going to want to create product groups and actually break down your product and services based on what you know should push better or going to convert better, and provide allocation and budget to that first, and then allow Google Performance Max to work within its realm of inventory, knowing to push one product set over another.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Maybe for Chris and or Dana, what are the pros and cons of Microsoft paid services versus Google? Are they better for certain audiences? Just any sort of insight, into that was the question.
I would easily say that there's definitely pros to Microsoft in being one thing to consider. As we mentioned, LinkedIn was purchased by Microsoft, right? And there's a lot of LinkedIn audience data that you're able to port directly into your campaigns within, Microsoft ads. If you are more of a B2B advertiser or you have more of a longer sales cycle, product or service, and you want to have more constrained targeting into exactly who you're getting after, that's a benefit that you can pull in specifically from Microsoft. But also with the announcement of ChatGPT and OpenAI's integration with Bing, they had an uptick in traffic utilization, people actually leveraging the service. So there's a lot more people actually having conversational marketing on Bing and more searches happening to be visible there. So again, going back to that sort of allocation of budgets and where you should be able to allocate is be flexible and switch and actually allocate them in real time as you see performance, and don't hinder or limit that you have to do a solid 90-10 split from Google to Bing. Make sure that you could be ready to shift budgets between one or the other should you see the performance and the volume. If the volume is there, allocate where you see fit.
Great responses. Thanks all. We're out of time, but appreciate the responses and
Awesome.
the questions.
Thank you everyone for taking the time to attend. Sorry for the little mess ups with people coming to fix my mold and my kids sitting next to me, but really appreciate you guys coming nonetheless. And if you guys need help with any of your marketing, check out our ad agency, NP Digital. If you want to attend our virtual event on the marketing evolution, it's coming up soon. It's a virtual summit. Scan the QR code and you'll be able to attend. Look forward to seeing you there. My name is Neil Patel, and I help companies generate more revenue through digital marketing. Entrepreneur Magazine said I was the #1 marketer in the world, and they also said I created one of the 100 most brilliant companies. I started my first website at the age of 16. I took all the money that I earned from working at an amusement park, and I paid a marketing firm. The marketing firm provided no results, and I quickly learned that I wasn't alone. Out of my frustration and from being broke, I had no choice but to learn marketing. My first client was a power supply manufacturer. I helped him generate another $25 million in sales, and from that point, I realized the power of marketing. I helped everyone that I could, and I built my reputation by being honest and over-delivering. I've helped companies like Google, NBC, Viacom, General Motors, eBay, but nothing's more satisfying than helping small business owners succeed. I founded 4 multi-million-dollar companies, and I've learned all the mistakes that you should avoid. I've written about them on Forbes, Entrepreneur, Inc., Fast Company, and even on my own blogs. It's so awesome to know that colleges from all around the world are teaching my material in their classroom. Over the years, I've received awards from the President of the United States, the House of Representatives, and the United Nations. People believe marketing is expensive and difficult. Fortunately, that's not true. There is a formula. Even if you don't have a technical bone in your body, you can get results. And my mission is to share this formula with you.